We're now in closed session. City Attorney Jeff Walter.
The council took no action requiring reporting out at this time.
Thank you, Jeff Walter. Now move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Terry Shore, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? All right. City Clerk Rebecca Barr, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
Or a attendance roll call.
Councilmember Agramonte? Here. Councilmember Cook?
Here.
Councilmember Hunley? Here. And Mayor Harvey?
Present.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Vice Mayor Hunley.
Vice Mayor. Very important. We did this, and so we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Would anybody like to make change to the agenda? Do we have a motion for the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, roll call vote.
Councilmember Agramonte? Aye. Councilmember Cook?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hunley?
Aye.
Mayor Harvey?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 401.
All right, we'll move on to public comment. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda. When the public comment session is open, please rise to the podium, state your name and address, and unless otherwise, under state law, unless otherwise permitted under the Ralph M. Brown Act, the merits of the matter presented under this item may not be discussed or acted upon by the City Council at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public will be invited to make comments at that time, and the item comes up for consideration. Upon being acknowledged, please step up to the microphone, begin stating and spelling your name and address. All right. Public comment is open.
Yes, good evening, Chair or Mayor Harvey, council members, staff, and members of the public. My name is Terry Shore. I'm a regional director for Greenbelt Alliance, and I live at 515 Hopkins Street in Sonoma. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm glad to learn that on January 27th, Monday at 6 o'clock at Vintage House, the City Council and Planning Commission will be holding a joint meeting to discuss the future of the renewal of the city's urban growth boundary and the timeline for the general plan and related issues. So thank you very much for that. Just a couple of updates on the urban growth boundary. Greenbelt Alliance would again urge the council and the staff to consider a 20-year renewal with a measure on the November 2020 ballot. It's the most cost efficient for the city of Sonoma. That way you can do your planning, and at any time you can go back to the voters, and it gives you a nice long horizon and not getting kind of pushed into a corner, kind of like we've done now because of just timing and a lot of other factors. So gives you time to do all your planning and get public comment from the people, and if you need to change it, you can. Let's see. We do have room to grow within the city of Sonoma. We've got about 200 to 300 units that are already in the works, about half of them affordable. I did a little research recently, and it looks like the city of Sonoma has about 185 permanent affordable housing units, not including what's coming on board in the near future. So if we're shooting for something long-term, like 10% of our homes to be deed restricted affordable housing, that's like 540 because we have 5,400 housing units. So it's definitely doable within the existing urban growth boundary. Let's see. Even if we grew at about 1% a year, which is about what the city's been growing and also the county, we have 54,000 housing units, 11,000 people. 20 years, that's about another 2,000 people and another 100 or 1,000, 540 units. Anyway, my numbers didn't quite come out right, I don't think. But anyway, we have room to grow, and we look forward to working with the city to renew the urban growth boundary so we have a climate-friendly, climate-healthy, affordable, and diverse community. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry Shore. Anybody else rising for public comment? Seeing one.
Good evening, Mayor Harvey, Vice Mayor Hunley, distinguished members of the City Council. My name is Tony Giraldi, resident of Santa Rosa. I'm also the General Operations Manager for Sonoma County Airport Express, and I'm the Secretary and Treasurer of the Miss Sonoma County Scholarship Organization. I'm here to invite you to our 74th Miss Sonoma County competition, which will be held at 7 p.m. on Saturday, March 7th at the Spreckles Performing Arts Center in Runner Park. Last year we had close to, I think, about 25 elected officials from throughout Sonoma County. You'll be recognized, you'll be introduced, and we'd love to have you there. It's going to be a great night. We'll have Miss California there. We've got a number of young ladies from throughout Sonoma County who will be displaying talent and poise and confidence on stage with the hopes of becoming either our 74th Miss Sonoma County or our 10th Miss Sonoma County's Outstanding Teen. So it's, the program's been in existence for 74 years. We are the longest running program under the Miss California organization. We give scholarships to all the contestants, all the candidates, and for their future education every year. For the last 74 years, we've had a Miss Sonoma County. We've no break. And our program is recognized by the Miss California organization by how embedded our title holders are in the community. A typical Miss Sonoma County makes well over 130 appearances a year. We've had a Miss Sonoma County's Outstanding Teen that made 98 appearances 2 years ago. So they're very active, groundbreakings, ribbon cuttings, Rotary luncheons, whatever. They're out and about. So again, we'd love to have you there Saturday, March 7th, 7 p.m. And I'll go ahead and email you an invitation as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Here we go. Yeah.
Hello. So my name's Rhiannon Jones. I currently live in Rohnert Park. What Tony failed to mention is that also at the 74th annual Miss Sonoma County competition, I will be there, and I'm truly the star, so that's what you should come to see. But I would also like to extend an invitation to come to our competition, as well as just say thank you for having an amazing city. I've always loved coming to Sonoma. I think it's always beautiful. I'm amazed by such a rich history. I feel like being a Western state, it's a little harder to find such a rich history as there is in some of the Eastern states, but Sonoma's really maintained and appreciated that. And I really appreciate that as a history nerd. And I also have loved getting to, one of the first appearances I made as Miss Sonoma County was with the Sonoma Valley High School, and they invited me to their Take Back the Night walk. And it was just so powerful to see the residents of Sonoma standing up for the students and the youth taking such a big role in their community. And I really feel that without you all supporting this amazing town, they wouldn't feel as much as they needed to make a difference or to make a stand for their town, because they've developed such a love for their town, and that says a lot about the people who run it. And so thank you all for being wonderful. I've really appreciated coming here, and please come see me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Emma Chen, and I am the 2019 Miss Sonoma County's Outstanding Teen. And like Rhiannon said, we will be giving up our title in March, and we would all really love if you guys would be able to come and support us and see all the wonderful young women perform on the stage. So this year, for my year as Miss Sonoma County's Outstanding Teen, has been really exciting. I've been able to go to all the different towns and cities throughout Sonoma County, and I really loved Sonoma as well. Like Rhiannon said, there are so many great historic landmarks here, and one of my favorite appearances was actually the 4th of July parade that we had here in Sonoma, and it was just a really exciting thing we actually got a tour of Sonoma as well and saw some of the more historic buildings, and it was just a really great experience, and I'm so glad that I was able to serve this county this year. And we'd also love if we'd be able to take a picture with the council members.
Sure. We can do that. Do it now? All right. Let's do it now.
Sure.
Chair. All right. Anybody else for public comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment, bring it back to the council. And we're moving on to meeting dedications. Are there any meeting dedications?
I have a meeting dedication.
Council
Thank you,
member
Mr.
Agramonte.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to dedicate this evening to Joanne Joe Miller, who passed away January 8th, 2020. She was 89 years old. She was born 12/14/1930. She and her sister lived here in Sonoma for many, many years on Denmark until they both moved to locations in Santa Rosa. She's predeceased by her sister Jean Miller, who passed away just that earlier in the year, February 26, 2019. Joe and Jean both graduated from Stanford University, which is wonderful. Back, it must have been probably in the 50s when they both graduated. She leaves behind her brother. His name is, Joe and Jean leave behind their brother. His name is Duke Miller. They were members of the Sonoma Valley Women's Club since 1996 and were instrumental in creating the foundation with others for the Women's Club. So I'd like to dedicate this evening to Joe Miller.
Thank you, Councilmember Agramonte. Oh, and Vice Mayor Hundley has a dedication as well.
Thank you. A little background before my dedication, because none of you know who this person is. But last year, the Human Rights Commission commissioned a study about LGBT youth, and one of the conclusions that got spread widely was the idea that one adult who is accepting of a LGBT youth could be enough to save their life, and that was because 29% of the respondents who were LGBT youth said that they didn't have a single adult that they could talk to. And here in Sonoma, and actually everywhere, we have, unfortunately, a population of homeless youth that is disproportionately also LGBT, that also happens for many reasons, but a lot of it is not being able to have a place with their family that they can live where they feel safe. So I wanted to dedicate the meeting to my friend Tara Ryan. I've known her since she was in high school. At the time, she went by a different name. In fact, she was the last boyfriend I had in high school when we were seniors and we graduated. But I learned that she passed away this weekend by suicide after a long, difficult life, and overcame a lot. But unfortunately, the world was a little too harsh for her. So just wanted to say the reminder, here in Sonoma, we're a lot more welcoming and understanding, and I think it's always good to make efforts to reach out to other people, and especially to kids.
Thank you for that. All right. Moving on to item 3.1, presentations. So I'll turn it over to City Manager Kathy Capriola.
Thank you, Mayor Harvey. Council, members of the public, I'd like to invite up Brian Albee. Brian is the director of the Sonoma County Transit and has been an incredible partner over the last, many years, but in his creative Fare Free program that he's created. And so he's going to be giving us an update. So let me hand him the clicker.
Good evening, Mayor Harvey, members of the council. Brian Albee with Sonoma County Transit. I'm happy to be here tonight to give you a report on the Fare Free program on the local Sonoma shuttle, the Route 32. A little bit of history. In November of 18, the Sonoma City Council approved participation in the Fare Free program for Route 32, the Sonoma shuttle. The city agreed to fund 30% of the projected cost of uncollected passenger fares between January 1st of last year and June 30th of this year. The Board of Supervisors agreed to fund the remaining 70% of the projected fares during the 18-month period. This program started back July 1st of 2018 with Sebastopol, its local shuttle, followed by Healdsburg. We did Windsor there in September of that year. Then Sonoma, and our route out in Kernville and Monterey started in January of last year, and just in August Cloverdale came on board. So we've got all of our local routes with the exception of two, and that's Roner Park and Katati, which we hope to bring them into the program sometime within the next year. Following its first year, the program has been very successful in bringing increased ridership to the local route, introducing new passengers to the service and local transit in the city and around Sonoma Valley. We've had some real positive results. This page of numbers, if you look down the percent difference, you can see how we grew. In January of last year, we started with a 16% increase in the first month. And if you know about transit ridership, it's been decreasing really throughout the state, throughout the country for a number of years. And so anytime you see a minor increase in fares, a ridership, a 5% increase is great. We got off to a good start here at 16%, and you can see month by month how the ridership increases kind of came into play. After the first 6 months, we had a 35% increase. The second 6 months, July through December, we had a 75% increase. And so I think this was quite a success. And where we've seen the largest increases in terms of ridership, adults 65%, seniors 46%, and youth. This is primarily Sonoma Valley High School students traveling from within the city and within the valley area to the high school, 142% increase. And I mentioned the city and the county have agreed to fund the projected fares. We came a little under on our projections because of the success of the program. We projected a 25% increase in ridership. We had 35% the first 6 months. In the next 6 months, we projected another 20%, and you can see we're up to 75. This is good news. This isn't bad at all. This is beyond our expectations, and I'm very happy to give you that news this evening. In fact, wherever we introduce the fare-free routes, we've seen an increase. And this chart here illustrates the fare-free routes for fiscal year 18-19, just finished in July. Sebastopol finished with a 50% increase. Out in the river, 21%. Our first 6 months here was 35, 66% in Windsor. Like Sonoma, a lot of high school students suddenly began riding the local bus to high school, and up in Sebastopol or Healdsburg, a 37% increase. Collectively, the 5 routes are at 46%. I mentioned Cloverdale earlier, that they started in October, and October through December, we had a 92% increase in ridership. Again, they had a lot of high school students that have become users of their local shuttle. In terms of the cost for the uncollected fares, we project for this fiscal year about $63,000. And you can see here the two matches from the county and from the city at the 70% and 30%. We'll max out on the county's contribution at $31,502 and the city's $13,501. That leaves us a remainder that we won't be collecting, which we call the Sonoma County Transit balance at $18,000. And the next column there to the right is what the 18,000 at the 70 and the 30% portion represents. When we look to continue this program on next year, hopefully we'll bring back an agreement for the city to consider. These are the projections for next year. We would project next year's contributions at where we end up this year. We would still expect to see increases in the future, but you can see the city's contribution may be around $18,900, and then we also need to bring in paratransit. This has kind of been a demonstration period, and we've shown that it's been quite a success, but now our ADA paratransit service that operates in the same service area as the local route, we want to bring it into the program as well. That will be a big benefit to your community. And you can see paratransit fares are relatively small, $1,600 for the city. The cost of paratransit is providing the service, not so much the passenger fares collected. So our next steps, we'll be working with your city manager to bring to you a new agreement, new projections. We'd like to have you consider a multi-year agreement, 2 or 3 year period. And as I mentioned, we would like to bring in ADA paratransit into the program as well. So before I go on to the next topic, which is electrification of the fleet, I would like to thank the city manager, Councilmember Agramonte, who have been real supporters of this program. We have established kind of an informal fare-free group that's met every 6 weeks over at Vintage House to take in some suggestions from the community. We've had folks from the high school. We've had a high school student been part of this. I think this is what helped us gain access to some folks at the high school. We were able to change our schedules a bit, and that's led to some of the increases there. We've had folks from the visitor center, from the business community, and also from the healthcare community all come to our meetings over the past year. And so we hope that will continue. And as we move on into this new year, but I'd like to thank Madeline and Kathy for your support in our program. The next item I have to talk about is electrification of the shuttle fleet, eventually the entire Sonoma County Transit fleet. Back in December of 18, the California Air Resources Board passed legislation that requires all transit systems in the state to move towards zero-emission vehicles. Zero-emission vehicles can be either battery electric or fuel cell electric. And in 2029, 2026, 25% of the buses, new buses that we purchase, have to be zero emission. By 2029, all new buses have to be zero emission. And so that is a huge challenge. It's estimated that by 2040, all public transit buses in the state will be zero-emission vehicles. But it is a huge challenge in going from vehicles with limited range, as what electric vehicles are at this point, versus a fleet now we don't worry about the range. So logistically, this will require lots of changes to our system that we'll be working on, I guess, for the next 20 years as this evolves. Right now, we have one electric bus that operates on the Sonoma shuttle, or Sebastopol shuttle. We have two buses similar to it being constructed right now. They will be here this summer, and we have two more that will follow that in spring of 2021. Ultimately, we'll have 5 of the 30-foot electric buses, and we want to, this is kind of our first phase of electrification, we want to roll those 5 buses out onto the fare-free routes. I mentioned their limited range to have the buses operate their full day and get back to the yard at the end of the night. We need to establish charging stations, and there's 2 technologies that we anticipate using, and that is on the smaller shuttle buses. We will have a charger, say at the plaza when the bus comes in, lays over. The driver has a lunch break. The bus will be charged up, plugged in, charged up, while that bus is temporarily out of service. Later on, when we move to the 40-foot fleet, we are looking towards inductive charging. It's kind of like your cell phone. The bus sits on a pad. It won't be blue. It'll just be a parking area. The bus will sit in front of the shelter. The top left photo is what the driver sees when he gets over the pad. He presses a button. The bottom left photo are the receivers underneath the bus. When we go to the 40-foot fleet, every time we come to the end of the line, north, south, east, and west, buses will have to come in and charge. And whether they're there for just a few minutes or for a longer extended break period, they will always be charging at the endpoints. And really need to do that to, as I mentioned, get the buses through their day and back to the yard at the end of the day. This is our anticipated charging network. Local buses in Cloverdale, Healdsburg, Windsor, and here in Sonoma. Then the intercity buses would charge at the end of the lines, north in Cloverdale, south to Petaluma, west to Monterey, and east in Sonoma here. And we'll be working with the city over the next year to talk about how we might do this. The plaza is our layover point for both the local shuttle buses and the intercity buses that go to Petaluma or to Santa Rosa. And in making and considering future improvements, we want to get a better shelter. I think we put that shelter up there about 25 years ago. We'd like to do something that would better complement the plaza and improve the passenger experience, put in real-time passenger information as we've done in other parts of the county, and then also have the bus charging capabilities. So this is a project that over the next year and a half, we'll be trying to establish the chargers in the local network in the 4 cities, so that when the 30-foot buses come in, we can get them out and get them in service. The first bus in Sebastopol is close to our yard, and it didn't require chargers over in the city. So it makes it fine from our yard out and back. But to do any other routes, we need to have chargers established. So with that, if there's any questions about the Fare Free program or the future electric buses.
I just wanted to say that you are the most unbureaucratic bureaucrat I have ever worked with. I appreciate it. Every time we would bring an idea up, you go, I'm going to look into that. And I really appreciated your paying attention to Alondra Perez, who is a high school student. She said the bus stop is too far away, number one, and I think the schedule. You
Right.
adjusted both of those, and now you can see a group of kids on East MacArthur and Broadway. I thought, fight or something, but they're actually young people taking the bus, which is really wonderful, Brian. And I wanted to say thank you to Denise Wilbanks, who is back there. She's with the Vintage House, and Jose Luciano with the Visitors Bureau, Mark Bodenhammer, Sandy Sanchez from La Luz, Alondra Perez, of course, high school student, and Wendy Swanson from the high school district. All of these people were able to bring suggestions to you, and you were very open to them. But I think people should know that it was a team of people, and I was just the vessel, that's it. And I tell you, they were wonderful, and I really, really appreciate your leadership and attention to the issues of Sonoma being way down here, not close to 101, and realizing we needed those services as well. So I appreciate that.
And I also wanted to thank you and all the time that you've put into it, and Councilmember Agramonte,
Yes.
who has been championing this for a while. And the changes for the high school were brilliant. Are there others that people have suggested that you think that you guys are percolating on, or if
Well,
people had suggestions, where should they send them?
Well, you can always
Madeline?
always contact us. We have a meeting about every month, every 6 weeks. Madeline, get a hold of Madeline. She can tell folks when the next meeting would be. Also, we've talked a lot about right now the service ends about 4:15 in the afternoon. To go another 2.5 hours to at least get through the workday, and so we'll be looking to the SCTA and Measure M in the future to bring some additional funds to expand the local service. Kind of the next priority beyond the weekday is the Saturday service. We like Saturday to be the same level of service as the weekday. So irregardless of what day of week you ride, it's the same schedule, Monday through Saturday.
And their question, how did Tuesday nights in the summer go? Was there a special program for the market? Did that happen? And did that get buy-in last year? And are you going to try again? Is there something that we can do to make it more successful?
Yeah, last year was the first year. It was kind of an experiment. We did provide a shuttle from down the middle school up to the plaza on Tuesday evenings from 5 to 8, 5 to 9 for the market. We didn't have a lot of riders. It was modeled after what we've done in Windsor for a number of years in their Thursday night events. The first few years there, we didn't have many riders, and last summer, one of the Thursday nights, I think we had over 350 riders. So we do very well now in Windsor, but it took a long time to get there. And in our meetings, we talked about that it was something we'll put out, we'll publicize it, but we just didn't find the right mix. And so we've talked about it, and our group will be talking more about it probably in March as we think about next summer. Probably we will go through town over to the valley. We think that's a larger catchment area and folks that may need transportation to and from the market on Tuesday nights. So we don't anticipate doing what we did last summer. We'll try something new this summer.
Councilmember Cook.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I know how hard you've worked, and thank you, Madeline, for being the champion on this. It's really great. I've gotten a lot of compliments from the community, and I do like the fact that this is something that will continue to grow, and new ideas will come up, just like the high school. So thank you. Keep up the good work, and we'll keep Madeline on you so we can be taking it to Timilek and everywhere else. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Brian. I'm a huge supporter of this, and thank you, Madeline and Kathy, for all your work as well on this project. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The increase in ridership is great, and especially to see that in the youth, you're kind of building a new generation of bus riders. And I think once you start that early, it becomes an option that you're more interested going on. I'm the SCTA representative from this and the new vice chair of SCTA, and I'm definitely going to be pushing for more funding for Sonoma County Transit, looking for these programs to expand. I'd love to see, less headways and all those kinds of things, but, money and capacity are always kind of our block there. Absolutely. I have a question on the electric buses. How much is the range decrease going from the natural gas to an electric bus?
Well, the 30-foot electric buses have a range of 137 miles. The natural gas 30-footers have a range of about double that, about 300. On the large bus, the 40-foot buses, they have a range of about 180 versus 450 on natural gas. So we're hopeful by the time we get into buying the 40-footers, technology will change, battery technology, will have a bus with a longer range. But it illustrates that we do need to have charging stations throughout the service area, and then just the complication logistically and labor-wise of scheduling those, get those stops in the right place so the bus can finish its day. It'll be a whole new challenge for us, and every operator in the state is trying to figure this out too.
Yeah, and I understand the need for less greenhouse gas emissions and the rest of it, but it does seem to me that getting more people on the bus and improving ridership is a better way to spend the money than on electrifying something that is so much better in terms of GHG and public transit than riding individual vehicles. But I'm excited to see how that works out. Hopefully you'll save some money on maintenance on electric buses. At least you don't have to do oil changes anymore, so that's good.
That's the hope.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mayor Harvey, before we move to the new item, just one last item on this. We will, when we look at kind of these electrical pieces and charging, we'll be working with the council ad hoc subcommittee, which currently Councilmember Hunley's on. So that'll be, as we process, we'll be looking at that in relation to the plaza. And then just as we complete this item, can we take a 5-minute break so we can deal with a little bit of a smell issue we have in the council
Let's
chambers?
do that, definitely.
Thank you.
Okay. 5-minute break. How dare you?
New rebel seat I'm sitting in.
Is Madeline back? Now that we're sure we're all safe and there's no fire behind us, we'll move on to consent calendar. Woo! All items listed on consent calendar are considered to be routine and are acted upon in a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the council, staff, or public request specific items to be removed for separate action. At this time, the council may change the order of the agenda. Would anybody like to pull an item from the consent calendar? Seeing none, I'll move it out for public comment on the consent calendar. Seeing no one rise, I'll bring it back to the council. We have a motion to approve.
Move to approve?
Second.
Rebecca Barr, City Clerk. Roll call vote time.
Councilmember Agramonte,
Aye.
Councilmember Cook,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hunley,
Aye.
Mayor Harvey.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion carries 401.
unanimous. All right, moving on to item 5.1. Hold a public hearing to discuss, consider, and possibly act upon the adoption of a resolution establishing residential and non-residential affordable housing impact fees for new development consistent with policies and the city's certified housing element as contained within the city's general plan, and make a finding that the action is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. This item is going to be moved to a separate date. The public hearing will be opened, but we're going to be continuing it to February 19th. I will open the public hearing and open it for public comment on the moving of this agenda item. Seeing no one rise, we'll bring it back to the council. Do we have to vote on this?
Motion.
Rebecca Barr, or sorry, we need a motion.
Motion to continue to February 19th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m.
Second.
Rebecca Barr.
Can we?
6 o'clock, not 6:30.
Oh, 6 o'clock.
Yes,
Is that what
thank
time our meeting starts?
Yeah.
6 o'clock.
I'll be late.
Second.
Councilmember Agramonte, Councilmember Cook,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hunley,
Aye.
Mayor Harvey.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 401.
All right, moving right along to item 6.1, presentation by the Sonoma County Waste Management Agency to request to consider an ordinance to prohibit the use and sale of disposable food serviceware and other products containing polystyrene foam and a zero waste resolution. Turning over to the city manager and our sustainability coordinator. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so, thank you, Mayor Harvey. I'd like to introduce Travis Wagner, our new sustainability coordinator. As council is aware, this is a new position, 2-year half-time that was approved with this budget. And we have some very talented applicants for this position, and delighted to introduce Travis Wagner to you. Travis is a PhD and has done a variety of work in areas of sustainability and recycling, and is so this is his first item he's going to introduce for you. So I'll turn it to Travis.
Thank you. So I'm briefly going to mention these two items for council's consideration, and then there will be a presentation by Leslie Lukash, the Executive Director of Zero Waste Sonoma. So the first one is a zero waste resolution, which seeks to adopt zero waste as a goal by 2030. Basically, seeks to eliminate the disposal of waste, and one of those components is the elimination of single-use consumer products. The model disposable food waste service ban, although polystyrene is a minor component on a weight basis, it is highly problematic, but it's also an avoidable waste. It's highly problematic for litter in land, surface water, the marine environment, and stormwater catch basins. As of today, there are more than 250 ordinances in the U.S. banning polystyrene food serviceware. One of the challenges is that it is not recycled in Sonoma County, and it's a common contaminant in recycling. So this ban would cover food serviceware, cups, bowls, trays, so forth, polystyrene coolers, pool toys, and packing material, and also the model ordinance being discussed is that straws, stirs, and condiment packets would be available only upon request. And there are readily available substitutes. The model ordinance is an expansion of the ordinance enacted in 1989, which was one of the first in the country, and also an expansion of the prohibition on single-use plastics at events in the plaza in Depot Park that was adopted last year, or went into effect last year. So with that, unless there's any questions, I'll turn that over to Leslie Lukash.
Great, thank you very much. Good evening, Council, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and the Chair of the Zero Waste Sonoma, Councilmember Agramonte, and Councilmember Cook. So thank you for having me here this evening to share more details about the polystyrene and foam disposable foodware ordinance, as well as the resolution. So I'll start with the polystyrene foam ordinance. So why is it needed? It supports zero waste goals. We have a number of jurisdictions who have passed the zero waste resolution. We ourselves has changed our name from the Sonoma County Waste Management Agency to Zero Waste Sonoma because it is something that we believe in reducing waste going to the landfill while we're increasing recycling and composting. This ordinance also supports the state's 75% diversion goal by 2020. As mentioned, there's many alternative products that already exist on the market that can replace polystyrene foam, products that are reusable, compostable, recyclable, and it further protects our waterways and environment. So we did a little bit of research coming up with this ordinance. We actually conducted surveys. We did 3,000 surveys, and we received overwhelming support throughout the county wanting an ordinance like this. I didn't realize that 240 jurisdictions throughout the United States have passed an ordinance like this, but half of those are actually in California alone that I learned tonight. Many of the jurisdictions have already passed this or are passing this currently in Sonoma County, and I'll go through the list at the end. So this ordinance prohibits the use of polystyrene foam food serviceware and products that are sold. And in its place, we ask that products are now truly recyclable and compostable, and we will be educating the community of what that means. We also want to try and reduce the use of single-use products, so we are asking that restaurants and other establishments serve straws, lids, condiments, and utensils upon request. So don't just assume everybody wants these things. And then within the ordinance, it allows for either a 25% fine or a 25% credit if a business chooses to do that. It's something that we support, but it's not mandatory. And in the polystyrene ordinance, we do say that there are certain products that can no longer be sold within Sonoma County. One are those coolers, the ice chests that are made of polystyrene foam. There's a lot of different alternatives now for that. Beach toys, and then packaging peanuts. So this will also affect grocery stores, the Quick Marts, and all the packaging companies. Just so you know, we did do research for the wine industry. That question has come up in the past about the wine industry shipping wine in polystyrene containers, and we have found out that there's now fiber-based, completely compostable or recyclable packaging that sits around the wine bottle when it's shipped, and it is the exact same price as polystyrene. So there's no cost increase to any of the wineries who will now be switching over to the paper. There is an exemption component, so if a business says that it is a hardship to them, we will take that into consideration. We want to respect that the business needs to operate, and if this ordinance is too cumbersome, we will evaluate that request. And then this does not affect businesses who are shipping into Sonoma County. We don't really have any, any say over what's coming into the county. It does not include fish or meat, that polystyrene tray that's under that either. So there's 3 phases to this ordinance. We're in phase 1 right now with the city of Sonoma, where we are presenting this ordinance to you. The next steps are doing education and outreach, and we are asking the jurisdictions if you can pass this in early 2020. That would be very helpful because we want the ordinance to go in effect January 1st of 2021. So that will give, if we can pass these by early early this year, then that will give businesses enough time to use their supply. If they have polystyrene, we want to respect that they might have some. Phase 2 is creating education and outreach materials, communicating with the Chamber of Commerce, other business associations where we can really let the businesses know. We're going to establish a compliance and a warning system. We're also going to provide technical assistance. So if a business calls and says, hey, I know you're doing this, can you help us? We will take care of all of that. We are going to develop a complaint-based system. So if there's a business that is not in compliance, people can go onto our website or give our agency a call, and that's how it'll trigger if we know a business is not in compliance. We do have the website up, so we already have all the education material developed. For Sonoma, we will need to fine-tune some of it because the hauler doesn't accept some of the plastic materials that the other 2 haulers accept in the county, so we will be fine-tuning this education material specific to Sonoma. But our campaign is reusable is best, so we really want to push, the reusables. That's where the focus should be. And then recycling and compostables are great, and we define what those really are, and then we also define what's going away. And then lastly, we took it a step further where we talked to the distribution companies that supply these products, and we in Sonoma County, and we created a whole list of what they sell and then what's compliant under the current system throughout Sonoma County, and we would do the same with Sonoma. Phase 3 of the ordinance is the execution plan, and when we execute it, it'll be a 3-letter warning system. So if we find that a business is not in compliant, we will reach out through letters. The only part we can't do for enforcement is the fine. The ordinance does have a fine. We as an agency do not do fines, so that would be the part where the city would need to take care of that. We would sign an agreement between the city and the agency. We will indemnify the city, and we will take care of all the education, outreach, and enforcement that I just covered. So that is the ordinance in a nutshell, and I'll just transition into the zero waste resolution, and then I can take questions and answers, or I can answer your questions after. But a couple years ago, the community got together. This includes the business community, nonprofits, environmental organizations, staff from Zero Waste Sonoma, to create a zero waste resolution. And a resolution is a goal, and the goal is to have a 90% diversion rate or better throughout Sonoma County. The reason why this is important is because we only have about 26 years left of our landfill. So my kids are going to be younger than I am now when our landfill is going to run out of space. And that landfill is actually an asset, a big asset to our community, because the minute we lose our landfill, we're going to have to export our waste at a higher cost, as well as, we lose kind of some of our control of pricing. And so things will get more complicated, and it is challenging to even site a landfill. So we would have to be reliant on the landfills that are around us. So that's the goal of zero waste, is really preserving that resource, changing behavior so that the community looks at the things we discard as actually a resource. That's where it came from. It came from a resource, and think of things differently. So with that, it supports keeping organics out of the landfill. When organics go into the landfill, they create methane gas, which is way more potent than even carbon is. And it really just supports any of the work that we do by the city's passing this zero waste resolution. So in your packet, you did receive the resolution, and you can review that and ask me any questions you may have. The current cities that you see on your screen have either passed or in the process of passing this ordinance, as well as the resolution. So it's making its way through the community, and I'm happy to bring them both forward to your council this evening and answer any questions that you may have.
All right. Councilmember questions? Okay, I have a couple. So I noticed that the single-use plastics are still included in the as far as allowable uses. So it really specifically just bans polystyrene, but if you have a clear plastic container, that's allowed. Are plastic lined paper banned in this ordinance? Yeah, okay, so
Yes.
those are, yeah, thank you.
Now we'll be educating that those are just landfill products.
Okay, great. So it's really about trying to switch to things that are actually truly recyclable or compostable.
That's right.
And then are there incentive structures in place to, because, you know, one of my concerns is the plastic is, the plastic container is recyclable, but only if it's clean. And so the definition of clean is always kind of a worrisome question to me that leads me to say, well, we should just go for compostable options over recyclability because there's just kind of a higher capture rate there. If it's dirty with food waste, it doesn't matter because it can be composted. So is it kind of the plan of zero waste to move in that direction?
It is. We've actually already started creating that material to define what clean is. And so we've researched what other jurisdictions have done outside of Sonoma County. And we'll be doing a similar campaign of teaching people, you know, how to clean out, let's say, their mayonnaise jar. Like, what does clean mean? Or, you know.
Great. Awesome. And then the other question that I would have is with regards to hardship, kind of how is that defined? Is that going to be clearly defined? Is that a completely case-by-case basis situation? I mean, how much of me saying this is costing my business something constitutes a hardship?
It'll be a case-by-case basis. And one thing that the business will have to do is state their case year after year. So it's not just a one and done. It's an annual renewal of their exemption. So, you know, we'll look into it and, you know, we'll be the judge of that. But, you know, we'll be fair.
Great. And then it's my understanding that the 2017 fires and then the subsequent fires in 2019 have really kind of impacted the life of the landfill in a negative way. What kind of reduction did we see in terms of usable life?
We saw about a year plus off the life of the landfill. There's over 1 million tons of ash that went into the landfill. It's something I track on an annual basis. So quite a bit of debris, but because it's ash, it was compacted. So it just was about a year, over a year, just like a year and a half.
Great. And then finally, locally, I've been receiving or seeing kind of online a lot of questions about curbside composting that we have in the city of Sonoma. And I think a lot of our residents aren't aware that their green waste, yard waste can also fit meat, or not meat, but vegetables, fruits, paper towels, all sorts of paper products in it. We don't currently have a program that's designed for solving that or getting that kind of education out. Is that something that Zero Waste Sonoma could help the city with, or Zero Waste could help the city of Sonoma with?
Absolutely. I'm happy to meet now that Travis is here and meet with the hauler, and see where you guys where we can assist and improve that education outreach. But now that's something that we're here to help.
Great. I just think it would be great to have that kind of awareness. Something that I'm going to do more of personally, but you know, always good to have partners in that.
And just as a reminder, Mayor Harvey is part of the rate structure that the council approved for Sonoma Garbage Company last year. There was some additional funding for education.
That's right.
And part of that was teeing up what we know we're going to need for SB 1383. But they are, that's part of a plan. So I think with, you know, Travis Leslie and the consultants and Ken Wells can sit down and put together some plan and kind of good before we start doing some of this outreach, get some alignment and there's some good resources.
Okay, that's wonderful. And Councilmember Cook, you had a question?
Yeah, I guess my question, I'll save my comment for Bravo because I think this is great. But my big question is, I've been on the council for 7 years, so I kind of went through the plastic bag ban. And it was always one of those that kind of concerned me because the city of Sonoma, we started out, we wanted to ban plastic bags, and it went regionally to the county, and then it went into a state. And every time it went a higher level, things kind of seem to fall off. And if you go to Safeway, you'll see that there's still plastic bags, but they say that they're recyclable, but they're probably, you know, what happens to that? I was really for banning plastic bags. So whenever I go to Safeway, I still don't even get the ones that can be recycled because I believe that, you know, paper in that instance is a lot better than plastic because I've seen the effects. I guess my question with this, how far is this going to stop I mean, at Zero Waste, I mean, this is a countywide program. You won't be partnering any higher up, or is there state legislation that will combine this into what happened with the plastic bag ban?
There is actually state legislation that didn't move forward under the last 2-year cycle. I think it'll be revised and try to be brought forward at the state level. Because the state knows it's an issue of plastics in our waterways and in the ocean. So I do see the state also at some point passing something either for single-use plastics and or polystyrene.
So you believe that this vote that you're asking all the different cities to do in this combined effort with Zero Waste, you believe that it's not going to be dummied down as it gets, if it goes into state?
There are so many jurisdictions that have already passed this that I don't think that the state, I think that the local jurisdictions can have the ordinances that they want, that the state won't supersede that.
Yeah, and I'll just say my comment. I really believe that this is a great thing. I would love to see this this happen, and that's always my concern. Is things sometimes when you lose the local control, it goes into regional, then it goes higher up. Things do fall off the table, and I think the final intent. So the only thing I would say is be strong on that and try to make sure that Zero Waste, sticks to what this program is, because I believe it's a great program. And I would like to see the plastic ban, the bag ban, really get further along than it is, because I still think it's a major issue.
Thank you.
I have a question, Mr.
Councilmember
Mayor.
Agramonte.
With respect to the, I think the last time we met, we were talking about working with the Chamber of Commerce. Have you had a chance to do that, to start your conversation with Mark Bodenheimer with respect to, I think it was Logan's, the mayor's question about expense and how people might feel about that?
Not yet. This was the first step, is presenting it to the council, but yes, we will. The next step is reaching out to the chamber and the business community that we identified here in Sonoma. We have done this in other communities, reached out to the chamber and the business community, and just so you know, we haven't received any resistance whatsoever. Not one business has come forward. McDonald's did reach out and had a question to see if the ordinance applies to the drive-through with their lids and cups and condiments, and we let them know, no, this is for inside the restaurant eating. And then another one was a restaurant that just wanted clarification. So far, we haven't received any resistance while working with the business community.
Great. Okay, we'll bring it up to public comment. See if there's members of the public that'd like to comment on this.
Thank you. Tom Conlon, 18850 Robinson Road. I just want to say I'm very supportive of this. It's been something that we've been talking about at the Community Service and Environment Commission for a number of years. And I'm curious if there has been any analysis on how this specific countywide initiative proposed ordinance differs with respect to the existing Sonoma polystyrene ban from 1989 and then the draft ordinance that was prepared locally here in Sonoma by the Ecology Environmental Committee of the Sonoma Valley Democrats. I know they put a good deal of effort into making some proposals, and I just haven't seen a sort of a side-by-side comparison of how this may be more comprehensive or have thought some of these issues through. The other concern, I certainly share a concern with Mayor Harvey, good to say mayor now, about simply, and Dave Cook, you too said sort of the upsizing of the recycling package. It's now a more substantial product that would be distributed. And so I was in a restaurant in San Francisco. They handed me a really robust plastic tub and I think charged 50 cents on the bill for it, which was a bit of a shock the first time. Very motivating. And it was embarrassing to me because I actually had a container in my backpack that I could have used, but I didn't even think. So that could be helpful. And then the questions that come to mind are enforcement. It sounds like the enforcement burden would still be yours. And so can we help support that enforcement burden? Getting a head shake. My understanding was that the county was not taking local responsibility for enforcement, but that responsibility would remain in the individual jurisdictions. So perhaps clarify that. And then, of course, is there anything that we can do in the nonprofit sector to sort of support and message and improve the education component so that it's not simply a government message, it's also a community-wide message. And then finally, evaluation, just to say a year or two from now, are we achieving the objectives that we thought we would with this particular measure? So those are my comments, and look forward to seeing this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conlon. Another rising for public comment?
Mark Marthaler, Sonoma, California. I just listened to the comments or the presentation, and something that you said, Mayor Harvey, regarding trash or paper products that are not quite clean that can be put into the compost. That's amazing. I did not know that. So I just recall like a town hall meeting that was in Boys Hot Springs with our assembly, or not our assembly member, but Napa, Cecilia Aguiar Curry, and recycling and that kind of thing was one of her priorities. And she was saying that it's kind of a problem because, we separate cans and paper like religiously in my house, but if it's just a little bit dirty, and a lot of that stuff actually just gets thrown into landfill. They're just looking for cans and I don't know what else, but also a lot of water is used. I presume if everyone's going to be recycling paper products and such and glass, it's a lot of water just being kind of wasted. It almost seems like. So that was one of her concerns. But knowing that you can take some of that and toss it into the compost would really be helpful, I think. Anyway, that was all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. Anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment. We had a question about enforcement during the public comment period. Looks like Leslie's rising to the stand.
Yeah, so we will take care of the enforcement in terms of contacting the businesses, doing site visits, doing technical assistance to try and get them to be in compliance. But the last part about the fine, that's the one part we can't do. So that will be on the city to do the fine.
And so if we got to that point with the business, then we would be using code enforcement to do follow-up. So, I think the work that Zero Waste has done here in terms of creating the model and just the marketing and the communication, that piece is super helpful. So each city isn't recreating this, and that's really the power of this kind of joint powers authority and everyone working collaboratively. So that's how we would handle the enforcement on our side.
Great. Councilmember comments?
There was also a question about the existing code versus what this ordinance does, if anybody else knows that.
Yeah, so Travis may want to speak briefly because I know he's looked at hundreds of these ordinances, so I'll let him speak to that. I don't know if he's had a chance to look at the Democratic Club one. And again, the purpose tonight was to come to council, say, with Councilmember Agramonte on the board, this has been something we've talked about as council, but to say, are you ready to move forward now? If you are, then we'll go do this work. And so from reaching out to the business community to doing more detailed comparisons of the ordinance. So anything else to add to that, Travis?
No, that captures it nicely. If I recollect, the 1989 ordinance focuses on government facilities, and this would expand it, but I have not looked at the Sonoma Valley Democrats Club version.
Yeah, I was chair of the Sonoma Valley Democrats Environmental Committee when that was happening, and so our ordinance, I think, was more specifically focused on the events. We're proposing getting rid of basically anything that was not reusable or compostable. Our main focus was to move everything into compost bins or have it be reusable, just for that same reason that you can then you have just one material that goes in one bin. Separation is where kind of the breakdown happens, where people don't know what goes where, and signage is difficult because you're dealing with so much different material, especially when you're in a public venue. So if it's just like anything that you got from any of those vendors, it goes in the compost bin. It's kind of just keeping it as simple as possible, one location. If it's got food waste on it, doesn't matter, it goes in the compost bin. And so that's kind of the direction that we were pursuing. I think our zero waste ordinance for our events is pretty tight, both in the like colloquial fun sense and in the it's tight and restrictive sense. So we just need to make sure the enforcement on that is good, and I'm excited to see how that works going forward. Are there council member comments?
So I also, Leslie, if you wouldn't mind, I think that other cities have mirrored what Sonoma is doing, and I think, Windsor and?
Sebastopol.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to applaud the city. I have been able to share what you guys have done at the plaza, and now I'm learning it's through the committee, and I know Lisa has been pushing that on the plaza. It's something that I've shared with other jurisdictions as I work with their communities, and Sebastopol and Windsor have both mirrored what you guys led with in the plaza, and have now extended that to their cities. So great job leading that whole thing.
Councilmember Hundley? Vice Mayor Hundley, I apologize.
Thank you. Is this because I never called you vice mayor?
That is correct.
Thank you. Whatever, new kid. Thank you for this presentation. And I think that this strategy is very impressive and also smart to kind of think about things from a county collective level, but then also be able to provide a level of support and resource that we would never be able to provide on something like this. So I think this is the way to do these kinds of things. And I can see that there's other steps that need to be accomplished one day. I mean, this recycling situation is critical. I mean, making people into effective recyclers if they're going to recycle. So I think that's another piece that we're going to have to tackle everywhere, but I mean, especially want to figure out what we can do here. But as far as the ordinance and the resolution, I would be proud to support both of those, and I just really appreciate all the work that everyone's done on it.
Great. Councilmember Cook?
And I kind of echoed it in my questions, but keep up the good work, and I would be supporting this. I think it's very important because anybody who goes and watches people when they're recycling, a lot of them are confused. And I think really getting it where they don't have to make that decision because that one piece of material isn't being used anymore makes perfectly sense to me. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I just really want to thank you, Leslie, and all the work that Zero Waste Sonoma's done on this issue. I really appreciate it. I came and saw a presentation of this as part of a subcommittee that I'm on as well, and was really impressed in not only the structure of the ordinance, but the specific suggestions that are given and examples of where to buy the new material is given to businesses. I think it's a really good kind of approach that gives people really good steps on how to follow the ordinance. So it's not only gives the good reasoning for it, but also how to complete it. And that's kind of the model of a good ordinance. I really, really appreciate the fact that we're going to have some help on enforcement and education from the agency. So that's really great. And then I just say for all the people at home and at my home specifically, to make sure you're putting the paper towels and the rest of that into your compost bin. Any sort of vegetable, fruit product, thing like that, we can take that in the compost bin. Let's save our landfill for as long as possible and try to remove and reduce as much waste as possible. Thank you very much. We'll move on.
Actually, Mayor Harvey, could we just
Need a
have a
vote?
motion, to basically to move forward on beginning to draft and doing public outreach on the food and serviceware and to bring you back a zero waste resolution as
Do you have a
well.
motion?
I make a motion to move forward.
Second.
Great. Rebecca Barr, City Clerk, roll call vote.
Councilmember Agramonte.
Aye.
Councilmember Cook.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Henley.
Aye.
Mayor Harvey.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 401.
All right. So we are moving on to item 6.2, discuss, consider, and possibly provide direction to staff to prepare an ordinance, a noise ordinance, ordinance amending chapter 9.56, noise of the Sonoma Municipal Code to regulate the use of generators during power outages. Planning, and we're going to turn this on to our Planning Community Service Director, David Storr.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I have 4 slides, so I'm hoping that this will be the shortest PowerPoint ever for 2020. So this is the first one. So the topic is emergency generators. As a result of the PSPSs that we experienced over this last quarter of the year, there's various reasons to go along a path to receive direction from the council to adopt an ordinance. I've listed 4 of them right there. I'm not going to go or belabor them really, other than to say that probably the biggest one is that we're now getting a lot of requests from businesses and residents alike to have or install temporary or even permanent generators throughout the city. And right now, the noise ordinance rules that we have may prohibit their efficient use during a PSPS blackout. So we're here tonight to bring up the topic to the City Council. The next slide is interesting because it's from the City of Mill Valley that actually adopted an urgency ordinance prior to the PSPS events in September. And they were looking forward to having these generators looking towards having these generators going on, being operated while the PSP events were occurring. So basically, what we have here from the City of Mill Valley, they have unlimited access or exemption, if you will, of the noise requirements during a PSPS blackout 24 hours a day for commercial uses, with a recommendation that they be shut off as practical to minimize impacts to neighbors and things of that nature. For residential use, the stand was a little bit different. That was to comply. They were to comply with setbacks, try not to be disruptive to neighbors. There's limitations on the hours, whether it's 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock. They chose 9. And there are also limitations on testing for emergency generators. We're clearly experiencing right now where we just at the Planning Commission approved 2 generators for MacArthur Place. There are more in the pipeline that want to come and ask how to deal with that. So when the next PSPS occurs, it would be good for them to know whether they have the ability to be exempt or not be exempt from the noise limits that we currently have in 9.52. Next. So tonight we're here to talk about some of these performance ideas, if you will, on the generators. That will be the length and time of day of generators. Think about that, whether you'd want to give an outright commercial exemption, whether we should have different levels for residential uses. Somebody wants to power up a little Honda generator they get from Costco or something. Exceptions for noise, for health issues, whether it's for residential uses or even commercial uses. And then is there really a need to have an exemption for periodic testing? So in addition to what we have here, I would suggest that we go to the Planning Commission if the council's of an opinion to move forward, that we at least talk to the Planning Commission, check in with them, primarily because we do have a noise element in our general plan and general plan policies relating to noise. This concludes staff's report. Received direction. I would assume based on your last action, we might want a motion to proceed to further direction.
Well, I think the first conversation is really kind of, this is an education opportunity and kind of just to talk through maybe thoughts and questions, concerns. If this is something, we would come back with a more specific ordinance. But before we kind of spend some of that work, we did want to kind of do a bit of a pulse check with council. Again, one option, I think during the last PSPS, most cities that were affected were basically not enforcing their noise ordinances. During kind of an unexpected thing, that's always an option. The better thing looking forward, though, is providing some clarity to both residents and our business community. I think the other reason we're bringing this now versus waiting, some of these commercial generators are very expensive. So like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the business needs to understand what is the market they're trying to meet. Do they have to meet our current ordinance, which is quite significant? I mean, in terms of thresholds are low, and that if you decide that, that's fine. The other option potentially is for generators, having that be a little higher, so there's some, but those are some of the questions, and we can come back. We're not expecting you to have all the answers, but we did want to do a bit of a pulse check before we start crafting an ordinance. But that's a little bit why we're having this conversation in January.
Councilmember questions? Councilmember Agramont, or sorry, Hundley, Vice Mayor Hundley. I'm going to get it right one time. I promise.
So this is focused on sound, but is there any discussion happening about other safety concerns about generators like carbon monoxide and fire hazards? Because I would just think, which this is definitely like a different piece, and I would rather change the law rather than just pretend like it doesn't exist during certain circumstances. But I mean, especially if we're gonna be seeing more generators in town, and you know, I just read stories about people dying from carbon monoxide poisoning during the last power shutoffs, and I mean, I just think there's so much that people don't know. In addition to, maybe less so the commercial side, but residential.
I did have a brief
homes.
conversation with Chief Aker about what they saw on the generator-related issues or medical issues during October and November. And I think there was maybe one, maybe two calls, not very minor. There was not a significant issue that we as a community had. You do hear these stories and issues in other places. So they have information on their website that provides, and there's a section on generator safety. We were, during the shutoffs, putting information out about generator safety as well. I think we could make sure if it's less than the commercial, the residential folks are probably, unlikely to come in and get any permit even. And if they're putting in a permanent one, they would, but these temporary ones, they might not. So, I think what we can do is put out public information and really try to do education, and then the kind of neighbors trying to support and watch neighbors. For the most part, I will say, there were generators going on in town in October and November, and we didn't hear a lot of complaints. I don't think I received any complaints on generators.
Councilmember Cook?
Yeah, can we go back to the slide before that showed what Mill Valley did? One thing that, because we're kind of getting input on council members, one thing that I would be a little concerned about is the testing of the generator. I do like, it to be done during the day or certain hours. But one thing I'd like to see towards the ordinance is to show people. It doesn't have to be part of the ordinance, but something we need to keep in mind that there's other things you can use besides generators. We've seen battery packs and different things, because when you do start talking about special exemptions and different things, you could make it a little harder for people to understand. So I would like to see a little bit more on that, because I do know that I had friends that were worried about, mostly not in the city of Sonoma, but in the unincorporated area, where some generators were used around high weeds, and I don't know how many incidences they had to that, where, for public safety, and going back to what Vice Mayor Hundley said, we really need to focus the ordinance on this, but try to have some training materials also. And on the commercial side, I would agree with the same concept in that, especially when we're talking about, some of these issues.
Great. Other questions from council? Yeah, I mean, I would reflect the comments made by Vice Mayor Hundley and Councilmember Cook. I think training is really important here, and offering some free training or some sort of pamphlet that could go out, because these things get hot, and you're dealing with fuel, and those kinds of things can combust. Hearing reports of things being around dry grass, the last thing that we want in a fire situation or a PSPS situation when we have high winds is for a fire to start in the city of Sonoma. So I have a lot of concerns about that. So the more education that we can have around these, that would be great. It would be great if we could partner with places like Friedman's to maybe do a couple, tutorials. If we could partner with any of our local areas or our fire department to just kind of explain, the dangers related to this and the possible problems, things to look for, how to make sure your generator's in good working order, how to avoid electrical fires, gas fires, all the rest of it, how to store gas properly. All those kinds of questions I think are really, really important going forward, because you have people that aren't used to using a machine like this, using them. I'm not used to using them, so.
Appreciate that. Just one other thing that, through the PSPS, we talked with the chamber and PG&E about doing some training once we got into 2020, or maybe not training, more just education of what are different options from battery packs and trying to get some assistance hopefully from Sonoma Clean Power. So bringing out some options and information of different types of technologies that are there in case we face this. Again, as a city, we had a very small piece that was impacted by PSPS for the last 4, I guess, events, and we hope that's what it will be going forward. But the valley obviously is a different thing, and it's, this thing is not set yet.
So they seem to be pretty a generator itself is very cost prohibitive. So you don't have one and you just lose your food, you lose all of those things. Well, luckily, I guess the shutoffs weren't that long, but I don't know the expense of it. I know my history with my own husband. He always says, "What are you trying to do, kill me?" And I told him about get a generator, and he said, "You know what I'm going to say. Are you trying to kill me?" So I just want to know about, the cost for people who can't afford these.
Yeah, I think I think there is a differentiation whether some folks can afford them or not. Obviously folks in apartments, it's a different deal, probably can't have one. So there is a socioeconomic issue with these generators as well. Again, within the city, I know the council's well aware of this, but for the last 4 PSPS events, I would argue 98% of the city was electrified. First Street West, kind of where we're sitting now, was not, from the plaza north, and a little 4 or 5 residences on Brazil. That was it. All the rest of the city, all of our commercial areas had electricity, which was really important because a chunk of the valley was impacted and turned off, so people could come here, could get services. But there'll be a lot more conversations on that topic with PG&E, et cetera, going forward.
Yeah, and then I guess the question too is when does this ordinance take effect? Does the city specifically have to be in a PSPS? Does the surrounding area have to be in a PSPS for you to kind of, I want to get my generator running, whatever kind of situation? I guess it kind of makes sense that it would just be if the city is specifically in a blackout situation. But I think it's really important. I mean, I spoke to people that have medically fragile individuals who are in their homes and they couldn't get access to the battery packs were too expensive, that kind of stuff. And these are medically fragile individuals who are not mobile, could not come down to our charging station, and their lives are threatened by not having access to power. So really, really important piece there. Should we move it up to public comment?
Thanks for indulging me with a second comment. Tom Conlon again.
That's all you get.
I promise. First, I want to applaud staff for being proactive in bringing this forward. It's really great that we're talking about this before we're in crisis again. Just retell an anecdote from our neighborhood just north of the city limits. I believe one of my neighbors had a large, maybe a Caltrans style generator with the big light kit, and fired that up and ran it all night long, lighting not just his own property, but frankly the whole hillside. It was very performative display, in my opinion. And then it stopped, and then didn't continue to do it when the power was back on for us. Also an anecdote, my neighbor, we were noticing that they didn't have a generator. We spoke to them and they said, "Oh, we just bought the battery, the Yeti battery product that you can carry around, and it was perfect to get our refrigerator charged up, and they had a little solar panel that they charged it up." They also have solar on their roof and found that without a transfer switch, they were unable to use the solar when it's out. So I think people are on the verge of making significant investments in this area and getting some information in front of them before they go and waste this money on bad decisions is thoughtful. So I really applaud staff for bringing this forward. With respect to commercial businesses, obviously there's huge costs, and we really want to protect our businesses from the impacts of these shutoffs. I am reminded when I had a business in town that the fire guys would come around, at least it seemed like they were there every year, maybe it was every other year, but with a very comprehensive fire safety check. I would imagine generators could easily be added to that safety checklist, and I'd recommend doing that along with some guidelines, and they would be a great delivery agent for getting that information out in a trusted way to the populace. With respect to, I guess I am concerned about businesses being more like my other neighbor with the big generator, sort of being insensitive, making too much noise or having a generator that's oversized for the application. Not sure how to address that, but we certainly don't want to encourage that. So, and then with respect to residential, it really is, I think, health and safety are the primary things to worry about. I know that I have heard, I think it was even here in the county, a generator wobbled loose from its anchoring, or was not anchored, and wobbled up against a wall and burned a building down. And that's something that if you don't operate generators, you might not realize that could happen. So I'd encourage folks to consider maybe even an inspection component in the residential case. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, just kind of go along with the comment that was made. In the case of MacArthur Place, we had two permanent pad-mounted transformers approved by the Planning Commission to address one of Vice Mayor Hundley's comments about vibration. So you get them on a pedestal on a concrete block, you kind of support it that way. In the case of the noise standards, we have prescriptive standards for the day and the nighttime. And in the case of MacArthur Place, those standards vary by a little bit because you become more sensitive during the evening and the like. But the point being is we did require them to make sure that they don't exceed those standards, either day or night, at their property line. So they had the benefit of having the concrete pad and whatever baffling, if you will, or shroud around it to get to a certain level, because they all make a certain amount of noise. And then you had the shielding, but the standard, the performance standard, was to make sure that those numbers were not reached at that was beyond their property line. So they're conditioned, as we speak today, to comply with the noise ordinance, and that may well be the standard that we come back to the council with. We'll be able to do some testing. In fact, we have a really large generator out the back here that during the PSPSs was very quiet, actually. It depends on how it's all shielded. So if you want to go see something that can run for almost a week without gas being poured into it, you've got one within about 150 feet from you.
Great. Anybody else for public comment? Seeing none, close public comment. Bring it back for council member comments. Anybody? Vice Mayor Hundley.
Thank you. Well, before I forget, I bring up the related safety stuff because I think especially with residential uses, which maybe we'll always get lucky, but maybe there'll be a different kind of disaster. I don't know. But when we roll out, if we go forward with this and we roll it out, I think it would be good at the same time to have some information, safety related things to have together. Because if people see that as like a license to go and buy whatever generator they want, or go get the one out of their parents' barn that's been there for 30 years, I think it would just be good for, to take advantage of the interest in the subject. But as far as the ordinances, I like the direction that Mill Valley went. One of the things that I was concerned about in residential areas was overnight use, because there was one around the corner from my house during the first shut off, and it was pretty loud. And I remember thinking if I lived next to them, I'd probably be really jealous because I didn't have a generator, but then I'd also be really irritated because it was really loud. So I think that the kinds of parameters they put on things to try to reduce conflict is good. But I also think that with, MacArthur had to go through this whole process to properly install something that's going to be that was probably a really big investment for them, that if other businesses are going to get something of similar size, then it would be good to go and optimize the placement of it. So I think sort of within reason, but I do think it is worthwhile to get figured out now.
Councilmember Agramonte.
One last thing. It was I only found out a few days ago that at MacArthur Place, they actually had charging stations and for people to go and charge. I don't know if that was just for their guests. I have no idea. But I didn't know that, so that would have been fun.
Councilmember Cook.
Yeah, the only last comment I would make is I know that we have an ordinance, but for motorhomes, but a lot of individuals during the shutoffs, most motorhomes have generators, and I would say that you'd want to put something in there that hopefully it won't last over 3 days. And I know we have our 3-day limit, but I guess you could just move your motorhome 2 feet and then you get another 3 days. But it might be something you might want to put in there to just to end the confusion that if motorhomes do want to be brought into the parking in front of the residents, that would be okay.
Great. Yeah, I think this is good thinking and getting in front of the issue by staff. I think maybe to Vice Mayor Hunley's point about the size and that maybe there's just a kind of certain amperage or wattage or size of generator that we could say, okay, once you're getting to this level of generator in a commercial space, then there's a little bit more restriction as far as noise or dampening or that kind of stuff, just so we can limit some of those questions. The other piece I was thinking about as we were talking about this is, PSPSs and fires are directly related to this issue of climate change. And so if we're going to do outreach and do conversations about generators and things like that, it might be nice to kind of put in just some verbiage if we end up doing some kind of education about it or any of that kind of stuff, some verbiage about transfer switches and solar panels as well. Just to kind of educate people that that's another option and that they could do something that doesn't burn fossil fuels. That's one of the reasons we passed a two-stroke engine ban with our leaf blower ordinance to try to reduce the amount of gas fumes and GHGs produces there. So we might as well just kind of encourage the use of solar panels and transfer switches here. And if there's any, it would be interesting to see kind of long-term if there's any blocks or things in our current planning documents that restrict that use or make that difficult at all. I would love to see that going forward. That's kind of a completely different topic, but that would be something that would be interesting to do, to see if as much as we can encourage that, the better. All right, moving on to the next item. Boop. Gotta reopen this. Item 6.3, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the mayor's annual assignment of the council members to various boards and committees. City Manager Kathy Capriola.
So council, as you're aware, each year we look in January for the new appointments, and the way Sonoma does these is the mayor makes appointments to both kind of countywide and regional appointments. And so there is a list that's being distributed to you. And I hope, Mayor Harvey, that we got everything accurate.
It is new. What I have is your new one.
And I think, Mayor Harvey, you may want to speak briefly to your overall.
Oh, I was wondering what that diamond did. I found out now. It does a ding. There we go. We all learned something. Great. Yeah. So going through this, generally speaking, I felt like people were kind of pleased where they were at. I think, we're keeping Rachel and Madeline on the homelessness thing. Is that on here?
No, the ad hoc
Okay,
committees,
we'll do that later.
the ad hoc committees, we're going to bring those back
Okay.
at a future meeting to review. These are more the ongoing permanent, either standing committees or permanent.
Great. So one of the two things when Kathy and I were talking about this was that board number 6 and number 7 had never met last year. I was on Citislow, and I guess Valley of the Moon Water District never had a meeting. So I don't see the point in continuing those. If they want to reach out and contact us, we can deal with it at that time. If you guys have any questions about this, with the Library Advisory Committee, Madeline had offered to jump onto that, just that she had a stronger interest, and Councilmember Cook had indicated that he was ready to pass that off, so that's great. I'm happy to be, the alternate for whenever you can't go, Madeline. Not much else is changing here. Anybody have any questions, thoughts? 12.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there are two committees, the Sonoma County Health Action and the Sonoma Valley Health Roundtable. I'm not sure the city has ever routinely kind of attended either of these. We get copies of agendas. I know Councilmember Acarmonte went to the County Health Action Council a couple times this last year, but really just, I think you can speak for yourself, Madeline, but didn't feel maybe it was, the focus was really relevant for Sonoma and based on a variety of other objectives. So at this point, and then the Sonoma Valley Health Roundtable, a lot of good folks talking there, but at this point, maybe not have a formal council representative. And then I've just placed city manager as needed in terms of I would look and see if there was a relevant piece for us to attend, and I might attend. But otherwise, we may not have regular representation on those two.
Great. And then as for item number 21, I realize that it may be a little bit of a hardship for Vice Mayor Hunley to get to Santa Rosa at times. I work in Santa Rosa, so I'm happy to kind of jump in. Yeah, so just let me know. Let's just communicate about that, what's going on, because I work out of there, so we can work together on that. Good? Okay. Cool.
then
I love being on SCTA, so I'm not giving that up. I'm vice chair now, all right? Okay.
So what will occur is that our wonderful city clerk, Rebecca, will reach out
Rebecca
to
Varg.
all the groups and let them know who the appointees are. I think we will, I don't know if this happens right now, but we'll ask that both the regular member and the alternate receive copies of notices and emails, and then if one of you can't attend, you already got it, and hopefully it's an easy connection for the two members, the primary and then the alternate, to figure out who can attend.
Now I have a question, Kathy. I was thinking about this today. Is there a possibility of getting our packets that we get for our additional regional meetings in our agenda notes thing? Is that something that's possible? No. Notes share, yeah. iBooks.
I use Notability, but I thought there was one more that you.
Note shelf.
Is that what it was
Are
called?
you asking
It's
about
a weird
the
name.
agenda and packet for your committees?
Yeah, just like if it was.
I've used Good Reader with Transportation Authority.
Okay.
I mean, I don't,
Yeah, there's a couple of
I
different
tend to get the
options.
paper form
Unfortunately,
anyway.
Annotate. And doesn't that
Unfortunately,
do that?
we're not able to do it with our, in our agenda notes because it has to go through, in order to be placed there, it has to go through our civic web portal. That's how it attaches. And we don't put all of their
and I did
meetings
mine
on there.
on my own
And
iPad.
we can definitely, you can upload them through iAnnotate or Bookshelf, or Noteshelf, I'm sorry, Goodreader. I find that Noteshelf is the easiest to use.
So maybe what we can do is when we also communicate, if there's an interest from council members to receive the agendas electronically versus paper, we can also communicate that out to, to each of the folks as you're making that contact, and then
I like my
help
SCTA
you.
on paper. They've just been missing the deadline. Like it's been coming. It wasn't there today, and it wasn't there. Yeah, and I checked, a couple of days. Anyway, that's not an issue with.
So if there's any of those types of things, please work with Rebecca, and she'll work with the appropriate agency to make sure that you're getting your packets in time and in the format you want. And then we'll happy to look at some different software and do any training to help you.
Just because of convenience, being the chair, the outgoing chair for the Zero Waste, I used to print my own packet just because, shuffling through and everything. But when I'm not chair, I'm gonna go back to Good Reader. Because it's just, more convenient.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, for sure.
Mayor Harvey, I also can go, when they're available, I can pull them off their website if need be, if they have them put up. So that's
Yeah,
easily taken care of.
we can figure it all out. David, sorry.
And I have a comment and request. I was going to wait. When I first got to the council, one thing that really helped us was, but we had paper packets back then. I don't think this would be very hard, but my request would be on our agenda if we could have a list of this. Because what happens is every once in a while a constituent will ask me a question, and I would really like to. I mean, I guess I could carry this around with me, but it would be nice for the public to know. They could look down and see who is on that committee. That's how it was done a long time ago.
Yeah, it's definitely posted online, but if there's an interest from council, I mean, this document could just be under council reports, just be posted under council reports as part of
that
the
was my
agenda
request. Great.
every time. That's not a big deal, and if
That's great.
that also may help remind you, oh, I do have a report to give on that one. So we could do something like that. That's an easy, just permanent ad.
Great. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, before you move on, you should solicit public comment.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And then when it comes back, you should entertain a motion to ratify the mayor's appointments.
Yes, sir. Going on for public comment.
So brief. Just a question.
Wait a minute, you promised you wouldn't be back.
I know I did. I'm getting more political. I'm just curious if I don't have the list that you just referred to. Is the Sonoma Valley Citizens Advisory Commission on this list, and have you appointed people to it? Because with the general plan coming, I think we need your input. Thank you.
Yes, there is appointments made, and that's, the primary is David Cook and the alternate is Logan Harvey. I will say on the citizen advisory, the council does need to be careful on that, so occasionally there are development projects that are in the city that are on that, and the council members really can't participate. And depending on the significance of a project that may be in the valley, a council member may choose not to make their own individual opinion if they haven't come back and talked to the full council. So it's a little bit of a unique one, but the appointments is Councilmember Cook and Mayor Harvey as the alternate.
Yeah, if I could just comment through the mayor. Yeah, I am appointed on that. I've been on it before. We just haven't met for a long time on that one. But being in the room and listening and not talking is what we're talking about.
Great. Anybody else for public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. And I guess we have to make a motion. Jeff Walter is giving me some death stare action there.
I would like to make a motion to approve the mayor's selections of appointments to the committees.
Second.
Roll call vote. Rebecca Barr, City Clerk.
Councilmember Agramonte. Councilmember Cook.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hunley.
Aye.
Mayor Harvey.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 401.
All right. Oh, wrong one. I'm working from 2 here. Okay. Councilmember reports. Anybody got something to report?
I don't see closing up on on dedications, but I just want to remind everyone that I have closed this evening and dedicated this evening to Joe and Joe Miller.
Okay. I have a report from SCTA. We talked about the comprehensive transportation plan. A lot of discussion about going forward with more emphasis on alternative transportation, getting people out of their cars, better access to public transit, and I was named vice chair, as I've mentioned many times throughout this meeting. Anybody else? No?
Who's vice chair of SCTA?
Who's Logan Harvey is. Rachel asked who the vice chair was. It's me. City attorney, any reports? No? City manager?
Just a few brief items. So January 27th, we will be having a joint meeting between the council and the planning commission, talk about general plan, housing RENA, UGB, development code. So your planning director Storr and city attorney and I are working on that. Treasure Artist is February 11th. So we'll be, encourage folks can get information on our website and come on down to that. And then the council chambers, I want to thank Mayor Harvey and Councilmember Agramonte and our city clerk Rebecca Barr for the work that we've done to look at how to just do a refresh of the council chambers. And so the painting and staining starts tomorrow.
David said, good job. It's not done yet. Hasn't even started. All right. So we're going to close session now. Again, hooray. Are there any public comments on our closed session? I'll open public comment. Tom, you got it? All right. We'll close public comment and retire to closed session.